Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm finally going to be talking about my team. I want to be trying to hold off on my team just because some people might think that it's not correct because they'll think it's biased just because I love this team and I know a lot about them. Just because, like, I own a lot of Patriots stuff. I have this right here, have that right there, that up right up there. And then I have this when we won Super Bowl 53. I have a bunch of jerseys. I have a bunch of other stuff, but just because I have that doesn't mean I'm a bandwagon. I know what I'm talking about with the Patriots. I believe that they are a good team. I will always stand by them. I'm always going to defend them. But now getting into their stats and schedule, the Patriots of their 2019 stats for offense, they had a total of first downs with 338 compared to their opponents of 261. With total first downs in rushing, they had 110. Their opponents had 72. With passing, they had 197, and their opponents had 150. With by penalty, they had 31, and their opponents had 39. And with third down conversion, they had 88 out of 227, which is a 38 completion percentage. And their opponents had 47 out of 195, which is a 29 completion percentage. And we had a 6 out of 15, which is a 40 percentage for fourth down conversion. And our opponents had 8 out of 22, which is a 36 completion percentage, which is usually not that good. We probably can be better with offense this year because now we added a new quarterback in Cam Newton. He can run the ball, he can pass the ball, and we have good receivers that he can pass to. And I believe that we'll go up in offense rushing a little bit more if we can lean on our running game because we do have a good O-line still. I believe if we lean on that, we'll still be a great team. And then for total offensive plays, we had 1,095, and our opponents had 948. And for total offense, we had 5,564, and our opponents had 4,414. That's probably because of our defense was a top 10 defense for like the whole year, getting a lot of interceptions, sacks, fumbles, and all this stuff because we were a great defense for the whole season until the playoffs. And we averaged 5.2 yards per play, and the opponents averaged 4.7. And for total rushing, we had 1,703, and our opponents had 1,528. I believe that should go up more. I don't feel like we should be a team that should be not running the ball as much as we can when we have a good O-line. We have good running backs. But for total rushing plays, we had 447. Our opponents had 365. For average yards per play and running, we had 3.8. Our opponents had 4.2. That is not good for running the ball. You do not want to be averaging less than 4 yards per carry because when you're a running back, that's when you want to make your big deal on first down. Because if you get 4 yards on first down, turning into a 2nd and 6, then that can be a big deal for the offense because it can open up the playbook way more instead of it being like 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 8. And then for passing, we had 378, and our opponents had 303. And for attempts, we had 620, and our opponents had 536. For interceptions, we only threw 9, and then opponents threw 25 against us because we had a defensive player MVP in Stephon Gilmore. We had Devin McCourty, Patrick Chung, J.C. Jackson, Deron Harmon, and our great linebackers that we had last year that were all able to pick the ball. And for average passing, we had 6.7, and for our opponents, they had 6. That's not bad, saying that we didn't really pass the ball that well last year because it was mostly our defense carrying us last year. But that's still good for not being the best playing team last year. And for sacks, we had 47, and our opponents had 28. That's mainly because we were a defense that would blitz a lot and play a lot of man coverage because we had a great secondary that can keep up with everyone that we needed to, and that helped when we had to play people like Amari Cooper and all those great receivers that we could just single team, and it'd be easier. And then for field goals, we had 27 out of 34, and our opponents had 17 out of 19, which is still pretty good because we kept switching field goal kickers throughout the year. We released our kicker Steven Goskowski after the season. And for touchdowns, we had 17. For rushing, our opponents had 7. For passing, we had 25, and our opponents had 13. For returns, we had 0. Our opponents had 0. And for defensive touchdowns, we had 7, and our opponents had 5. That's mainly because of we had a couple pick sixes. We had 2 in the Dolphins, one with Stephon Gilmore and one with Jamie Collins. And now with the time of possession, we had over 31 minutes time of possession, and our opponents had 28. With our turnover ratio, we had 21 plus 21 turnover ratio because we would always go out there and pick the ball and make turnovers. And we didn't really know what our opponents had. It was probably it was not that low because we only threw a couple picks a game. It was around plus 3 for them. And now getting into our schedule. The Patriots have a easy second half of the season, but the first half is pretty hard. The first game we play the Dolphins. That's an easy win right there. The Dolphins are in another rebuilding mode. And then the next week we play the Seahawks. I feel like that game can go either way. We can either win that game or lose that game, just because now they added they lost Earl Thomas and they added Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is a great player. I talked about him a couple days ago. I feel like he can lead that defense now with Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright and the Griffin brothers. They are a great team. They're going to be a great offense and defense. That game can go either way. And then the next week we play the Raiders. We're going to beat the Raiders. We've always beaten the Raiders every time we played them. Last time we played them, we beat them in Mexico City in a soccer stadium. And then we usually play great offense and play great defense. We have a better defense than their offense. So we will be able to stop their offense when they try and run the ball with Josh Jacobs. And then we can be able to stop Darren Waller with one of our athletic linebackers that we got in the draft. And then their defense, they have a good defense, but I feel like we'll still beat them just because they are a young defense and they are not ready for a playoff run yet, I believe. Then the next week we play the Chiefs. I believe, yes, we will lose to the Chiefs because the Chiefs are a great team. They've been a great team ever since they had Patrick Mahomes. We're going to lose that game. There's not that much to say about this game. It's going to be a close game, but I feel like they'll win in the last couple minutes of the game. And that it's just because that Patrick Mahomes is just a once-in-a-generation player, and it's hard to keep up with that offense when they are constantly throwing the ball deep over your heads with Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, and Travis Kelce. And then the next week we play the Broncos. That's a win right there, just because the Broncos don't have that much of an offense anymore. After they haven't been the same team ever since Peyton Manning left, and they don't have that many defensive players. They have Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, but other than that, they're not that much of a scary defense to worry about anymore. That Super Bowl 50 team was probably their best team that they've had, but ever since then, they haven't been that good of a team. The next week we play the 49ers. Yes, we will lose to the 49ers because they are they're just like the Chiefs. They're a complete team on both sides of the ball, on offense and defense. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball a little bit. And then with their defense, they have young pass rushers. They have Nick Bosa. They have all these players that can get after the passer. They have a good secondary. And they picked up a good receiver in the draft, and he's a rookie, so he's going to be good this year. And we lose that game. I know we will. It's going to be a hard game to win that one. The next week we play the Bills. We're going to beat the Bills. We usually beat the Bills every year because the Josh Allen does not have good accuracy. We usually beat them in the last quarter of the game, just because Josh Allen usually will make a mistake to lose them that game. And then the next week we play the Jets. There's not that much to talk about there. We will beat the Jets, and then just because they don't have Jamal Adams anymore, that was a big piece of their team. Even that even contributed to their offense, because if their offense didn't do good, they believe that Jamal Adams could possibly make a play and get the ball back for them. But now that they don't have him, all they really have on their offense is Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell didn't play that good last year. He didn't have that many rushing yards with that first year with that team. The next week we play the Ravens. Yes, we will lose to the Ravens just because the Lamar Jackson, he's a great player. He runs the ball a lot, but it's still going to be hard to beat him. There's not that much to say about that game. We're going to lose to that one. The next week we play the Texans. We will beat the Texans because they don't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore. They don't have that much of a defense. They lost a lot of players just because Bill O'Brien is not that smart of a coach. He let go of a lot of players. You might see like those jokes that he will trade a player for like nothing. But then the next week we play the Cardinals. I still feel like we'll beat the Cardinals because they have a young quarterback, even though they do have some good receivers in Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins. We will beat them because their defense is only carried by Budda Baker and Chandler Jones. And yes, we will win that game because there's we have a lot of pass catchers, and our defense is still really good, even though we lost a couple players in free agency. Next week we play the Chargers. I already said that we'd beat the Chargers because we can outmatch them or just about match them up with in every category. Just because we beat them a lot in the past, and we can run the ball on them, we can pass the ball. If you watch the playoff game from when we played them a couple years ago, you can see that when we run the ball on them, we had a lot of success. Just because they had they played a lot of safeties at like the linebacker position, which was easy to move around. That's why we will win that game, because our matchup is way better than theirs. The next week we play the Rams. We're gonna beat the Rams too because the Rams don't have that many offense or defensive players anymore. They're losing like everybody. They lost Todd Gurley. They lost all these players. They really only have Aaron Donald on defense now. They don't have that much of a defense or offense ever since Super Bowl 53. They don't know what happened. No one really knows what happened, even their fans. The next three games are all division games. We play the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets. We will beat the Dolphins. Like I said, they are still in rebuilding mode. I feel like they could be a good team later on. And we will beat the Bills just because Josh Allen does not have the best accuracy, and we can still outmatch them. And then, like I said, with the last week of the season, we play the Jets. The Jets don't have that many players that can really beat us over top or stop us on offense. So that's how I believe the Patriots will play this year. If you guys have anything to say with this schedule or with what I said with the Patriots, just leave it in the comments. And if you guys want me to do your team, just subscribe to my YouTube, like the video, and comment who you want next, because I have a list of the teams that I'm going to be doing. And until then, I will see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.